Ya está. Okay, good morning, class. Thank you for joining us, and I thank a lot, David, Dr. David, to join us today to share us a little bit of his very extensive experience in design. I'm going to introduce you to Dr. David, and I'm going to tell you that Dr. Paulo David Soasti Barreta, is a researcher and academic with more than 20 years of experience at the intersection of design, technology, and social innovation. He holds a PhD in science, technology, and society from the Tecnología de Monterrey, a master's degree in innovation and product design, and bachelor's degree in design from the Pontificia Universidad Católica del Ecuador. Dr. Soasti Barreta is an active member of the World Capital Institute and a collaborator of the European Innovation Alliance organization, where he contributes to the global discussion on knowledge, innovation, and sustainable development. So very welcome, Dr. David, and we appreciate a lot your participation today. So go ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Margarita. Thank you for being here. This is a subject that we as industrial designers we have to face technology in some sort of way, and we have to understand what technology is and how to make the most of technology from our design case. First of all, I would like to ask you if it's possible to turn on your cameras. I would love to see you guys. Thank you very much to all of you who are already turning on your cameras. First of all, I would like to let you know that I used to offer this class previously to Professor Margarita, and I'm very excited about this opportunity to be here at the class at Tec de Monterrey, which can you hear me? No?
Yes.
Hay una...
Yes.
Oh, you can hear me.
There are people that are not allowed to because of technology to turn the cameras on, but they are
okay, it's good. I think it's part of this human side of technology to see each other, to be able to see each other of us. And just give me a second that my microphone run out of energy. Okay. So, can you hear me? Yes, perfect. Okay. So, let's go forward on our on this presentation. As you can see, right now my Bluetooth microphone stopped working. So this is one of the characteristics of technology. Our tools betrayed us in the best moments. What is technology, and how has this, let's call it agent, has evolved a long time? what is technology? Have you heard of technology? Of course. So when we talk about technology, usually we talk about something related to the tool concept. Technology is usually a tool that helps us in order to perform some sort of task, right? This is due to the fact that the definitions have to be broad enough to comply to many cases. Therefore, this definition fits for many objects. For instance, a fork. Fork, it's some sort of technology, right? It's a tool that helps us in order to perform the task of eating. So this is the starting point of this technological understanding, and is related to our own humanity and how we evolved a long time. Therefore, we should start on the prehistoric era, when the first stone was used as a tool. It was used in order to probably defend what people was in that time, defend them from some sort of threatening. And along this time, humans started to, let's say, master fire in order to, again, perform tasks. Being these tasks, cooking their food. Then we have the agricultural revolution, when humanity went from being hunters and gatherers to some more stable societies. Therefore, this was a very big change. And this agricultural revolution started around 15,000 years ago, when the Ice Age ended, and weather were more kind in order to perform agricultural tasks. Then we can move to the ancient world, where there's some important marks here. For instance, the invention of wheel in what is nowadays Iraq, Iran. This one is very controversial, because many academics think that the Egyptian pyramids were not built in the ancient world, but way before. And traditional archaeology says no, it was 3,000-4,000 years ago. And I wanted to add this Egyptian pyramids construction item, since it reflects how science goes through some sort of negotiations on society. There's some academics, as I said before, that support the idea, the traditional idea of archaeology, and some others that goes to the geological evidence, and they say, no, this is wrong. This pure facts said something different. So moving on, then we have Roman aqueducts and roads, which started to develop the world as we know nowadays. And it's very important not to consider only the Eurocentrical perspective. So we have to acknowledge that other societies also develop technologies. For instance, the Chinese society developed the compass and paper making, and they had actually the first print in the world, the first print system in the world. So all these early innovations show us that they were problem-solving oriented. So this supports the first claim that technology it's a tool in order to perform some tasks. Then we have the medieval times and their technological breakthroughs. Being the most iconic here, these ones we can see here. Sorry, let me just fix something here in my screen. Okay, done. So we can say that at medieval times, around 1440, there was this. All of you have heard about Gutenberg, right? Johannes Gutenberg. He took this Chinese initial idea of printing by contact, and he developed his own version. So he's historically, how to say, historically considered as the one inventing the press. And I'm taking some time here since it was not exactly an invention, but a reinterpretation of what was an already existing technology, the Chinese one. But on the context we have, he is considered as the first one of the on printing technology. At the same epoch, we can consider that mechanical clocks started to be developed by scientists of that time. And this is important because at that moment, this was a process performed in order to know where people was in the world. And this takes us to this other point here under the navigational instruments. Boats and ships were mainly the ones who used these technologies in order to know where they were located. And this was a very important, let's call it icon, in order to people to be able to move from one point to another, because it was very easy to move from north to south and from south to north, but from east to west and west to east, it was very complicated at the time, and usually it was very we are kind of in Jamaica, or we're kind of in the Canary Islands, and some sort of that. It was how navies across the different empires, the Spanish Empire, the Portuguese Empire, the British Empire, were navigating across the world. Therefore, these medieval times are marked by the mechanical engineering advances across the entire world. Then we have the industrial revolutions. This is when remember that we started as hunters gatherers, then we moved to agriculture, and then we have the first industrial revolution. At this industrial revolution, people started to live in cities, and then they moved from the fields to the cities. and people start to live together. Therefore, this changed how we used to work. So at that time, it began how we live today. We go to the supermarket, we go to the school, we go to our job in a factory or in an office, and so on. But this is the beginning of that behavior. And this first industrial revolution, it's characterized by the steam engine manufacturing systems, which were not known before. And oh, sorry. Okay, never mind. So the steam engine was an invention from James Watt. He was at that time. I don't think it's fair to call it engineer or scientist. It was a mix between artists, engineers, and scientists and sociologists, and very, very weird. But let's say James Watt was very disrupting at his time, and he invented this machine. And this first industrial revolution, it's characterized because machines replaced human labor. Machines were expanded exponentially in every context in order to perform labors. Another characteristic is that telegraph was introduced, and this opened to global communications. So previously to telegraph, if you wanted to send a message from, let's say, London to Mexico City, this was something that usually it was 5-6 months if it was fast, right? So after telegraph, we could send very short messages because telegraph was basically communication systems on ones and zeros and beeps and silences, right? So you have to codify a message in beep, beep, silence, silence, beep, beep. So it was, as you can realize, it's very confusing to interpret this kind of message, right? And usually the message has an error factor that we don't have it anymore. So if you were sending a message from London to Mexico City, it was fast, but it was not that accurate because it depended on how the one receiving the person receiving the message interpreted these beeps. So then we jump to the second industrial revolution, and we have the telephone. Now we could send voice messages on real time to people on the other side of the country. And of course, this expansion of the telephone, it took a while. But once a technology is implanted in some environment, it's very common that the technology spreads on their environments. Then we have the electric light bulb, which is another technology that we still use today. Also, we have the internal combustion automobile, which is again something that is still among us, but it's being removed from a new technology, which is electrical transportation systems. Also, a little bit later, there was the radio invention, and we could spread messages across our entire planet due to radio waves. And this is very interesting since this technology it's still with us on our everyday life. For instance, our mobile phones use radio systems. Our these you know what this is? It's a speaker, and this object connects to our computers or mobile phones due to Bluetooth technology. And this technology is basically a radio transmission and receiving technology. We also have the appearing of airplanes at this second industrial revolution. This is something that I also wanted to share with you because I remember in Mexico, it's very common to say that the first flight in history it was attributed to the Wright brothers, right? I'm pretty much sure you all have heard this, but and this is something that happens in social studies of technologies, because this claim it's not took as a absolute true by the Brazilian government, for instance. Since the Brazilian government claims that Alberto Santos Dumont was the first independent flight. And this is something that happens, and it's called controversies. And well, it's very interesting because I grew up in, my father, it's an aeronautical engineer. Therefore, I was my entire life exposed to aeronautical literature, experiences. I used to live in an Air Force base, and well, it's also very interesting for me. So I wanted to share it with you. And well, we can say that this industrial revolution, this first and second industrial revolutions, they were characterized by some reshape of our human life due to energy, to electricity, and industrial combustion engines. And let's move on with the next one. Then we have the information age. This constitutes the third one, the third industrial revolution. And these dates are not exactly, right? These dates are approximated, but I'm not sure if you know, but the first computer was this ENIAC, and it was huge. It was like an entire classroom, which was full of mechanism and stuff and vacuum bulbs, and it was an impressive. Um, oops, thank you very much. It was an impressive, huge machine. Then by 1947, around that time, the transistor was invented. And we can understand a transistor as a switch, an on-off switch, which is controlled by electricity. And the huge advantage was that it was it went through a micronization process. And this is the important part. And around 10 years later, we have integrated circuits. And an integrated circuit, it's when you put together many transistors, next to each other. And this is the base for what we have nowadays on our computers, our computer's brain, basically. And I'm pretty much sure that many of you have some Apple laptop, right? These laptops, probably they have the M1 or M2 chipset, right? Let's put some thumbs up if you know what I'm talking about. On your computers, well, it's part of your computer, and it's basically the brain of the computer. This started on 1958. So, and then we move on, and the US military in 1969, they started with the early internet. They got many computers already in their bases, and they connected to one to another. At this time, there was no security protocols, or it was just connections, basically physical connection using cables and long range networks, which was, let's say, in Monterrey, for instance, we have one computer in Monterrey, one in Saltillo, and in order to connect them, we have to create some electrical routes. So with cables, we connected these both points. Then around the 1970s, it started the personal computers era. And this was, I'm pretty much sure all of you have heard about Apple and their first Lisa computer, the Apple II computer, some other computers around that time. It was the Atari or Commodore, and those were amazing computers. Then we jump into 1989, and we have the science and technology were advancing, and they started with the concept of World Wide Web, because it started to populate many computers, and there has to be some sort of organization among them. And this was the World Wide Web standard most important contribution to the internet. Then nothing happened through the next 8 years, and we get to the smartphone starting. Well, it's not that nothing happens. There was huge developments in product design, especially if you ever research a little bit about Nokia, and they had a huge development on mobile phones. Sony Ericsson, it was also a very important player at that time. But the smartphone revolution was the starting point of this standard of mobile phones. We don't have a keyboard anymore. It's a touch screen. And let me recommend you to read to Professor Mariana Mazzucato. She has studied a lot about this, how Apple generated these innovations, and turns out it was not Apple. That's the very interesting thing. It was economically supported by the US government, and they developed many people developed all these technologies. And what Apple did was putting them together into one product, which was the iPhone, the first iPhone. And if you have ever seen the first iPhone generation, it's like a huge sandwich. Not something like what we have now, which are very thin objects. And this is important because as an industrial designer, aspiring things, aspiring person, yeah, exactly, Mariana Mazzucato. It's important because we have to analyze how to deal with technology, how to understand technology to make the most on the value proposition process that it's the design process. Therefore, we have to understand how technologies works. We don't have to be like a very deep understanding of technology, but we have to have a broad understanding of technology. Because engineers, they are the ones who are related on deep technology understanding. We have to understand what is the big picture of these technologies in order to propose new value and usually new meanings. This is another reference that I want to share with you because it's there is this design driven innovation by Roberto Berganti. He's a professor at the Politecnico di Milano, and he proposes that innovation it's not only user-centered, and this was very, very polemic. It was huge when they when he proposed this idea. Well, it's not an idea; it's a research, and he showed that many innovations does not come from user-centered methods. And but the time, this is something around 2010 or kind of. And at the time, it was very, very controversial. And this is a personal history of mine. When I went to my master's degree over there in Monterrey at Tec, I was questioning user-centered design. And this caused me a lot of trouble since Tec de Monterrey is married with user-centered design. And at some point, I remember one of the professors of the who were my synodales, he asked me, when are you gonna put user-centered design here? And I said, I'm not gonna put that in I'm questioning this on my work. And it was very, very controversial. At some point, I considered to drop this subject and just get into the wave of user-centered design. I now can say I'm happy that I didn't went through that, since that idea, since that opened me the possibility of get a research stay in Germany. And so the point here is follow your ideas, trust your ideas, but not because only you feel handsome, but you have to have support, theoretical support on your ideas, and knowledge base in order to support these ideas. Okay, so let's move on. Oh, okay, sorry. 2010, it started with these AI technologies, but they were very, very rude at the beginning. It was like, all of you have heard about, what's the word? Patrones algorítmicos. I forgot the proper word. But anyway, it was.
¿Experto será?
¿Perdón?
¿Sistemas expertos será lo que quieres decir?
No, I'm gonna remember in few minutes, but it was the repetition of mathematical patterns in order to create images. So, for instance, let's say at that time, artificial intelligence entities understood what an eye is. Okay, so they use this image of an eye in order to paint our images. So this moment of technology, images were built with the variances of color, shape, hue, levels, and many other technological considerations. But it was like the prehistory of artificial intelligence, right? So let's move on to the next. Oops. The next industrial revolution was the digital age and information revolution. This is known as the fourth one. Nothing to the political 40 over there in Mexico. That's another thing that I'm not gonna go over there. But this is this age. It's characterized by personal computers, and I'm not talking about laptops or desktops, but this kind of computers, because we call these mobile phones, but technologically speaking, this is closer to a computer than closer to a telephone, right? This has a lot of technologies and functionalities, and it's flexible enough in order to perform as a computer. And this was something that it's called democratization of technology access. Everybody has a mobile phone. It's not a very expensive thing. You can get one mobile phone probably from $80, right? It's not gonna be the best one, but you can have access to technology on that budget. Another characteristic is internet. It's everywhere. We are always connected. Everywhere we go, we have some sort of radio network, which offer us access to internet. And this has two sides. The technological side that I'm talking about, that we have access to this technology everywhere. And the other one is that what we do with this access to internet. We can simply chat on the internet with someone in the other side of the world, or we can manage some online e-commerce shop from our mobile phones. And each of us can do that nowadays. You just have to set up some sort of e-commerce framework, such as WooCommerce. And let me write down for you. WooCommerce plus WordPress. And then you have all technology set up in order to have not artificial commerce, e-commerce. Sorry. We also have these another characteristic I mentioned already, mobile technologies, which is rather not exactly to these technologies, but to these ones. That we have now smartwatches and smart objects that are capturing our information every second of the day. This generates a huge amount of information fluxes, and this constitutes the main idea of the Internet of Things technology. I don't know if you have heard about Internet of Things, but it's a technology that basically proposes that every object can have access to share our information with some other technological networks. For instance, I'm pretty much sure you all have seen a smartwatch, right? And smartwatch captures our information on blood pressure, on sleeping patterns, on how many steps have you done today. What other thing? Electrical, what's the word? Electrical conductivity on our skin. And well, there's much more information that it's captured. And this is what the mobile technologies refers. These technologies capture the information, send it to some server in the internet, process it, and it gives back the answer. And then you see this beautiful animation on the iWatch. No, it's not the iWatch. It's the Apple Watch. That's the official name. At the Apple Watch, you see this beautiful animation that show us that we achieved 12,000 steps on the day, and you get some sort of gratification on visual terms, right? This is what is creating something that is another characteristic of this digital age information, which is data doubles of each of us. So it's very likely that you have not accepted to share your information on the internet, but again, these other objects are listening us all the time. Because if you talked about, oh, I would like to go to Cancun, and 15 minutes later, you started to getting advertising information from hotels in Cancun, right? Or alternatives, or I don't know, I'm going to use the stereotypical example, hotels in La Isla del Padre, which is the official beach of Monterrey, right? So you see how this technology dynamics moves, right? And this is how it's characterized this digital revolution, which is the fourth one on the. And there is this other researcher. Her name is Shoshana Zuboff, and let me write here down for you. Shoshana Zuboff. Oops, no, it's Zuboff. Okay, and she talks about how on that's you can see this phrase at the end of my presentation. Data became a primary economic resource, and Zuboff she comments that right now we are the product. All these surveillance capitalism, which is this thing I just mentioned. I feel like I'm going to Cancun like last year, and then I get advertising from hotels, flights, rental cars, restaurants, activities, and so on. This is how it's working, and it has some dark side. If you read Zuboff, which I recommended because as industrial designers, it's very helpful to understand how and where technology is going. You're going to realize how we are now the product. we are being bombarded by commercial offers, and we choose the ones that are more relatable to each of us. And it's and the dark side is that Zuboff says we have the perception that we are in control of our own lives, but right now under surveillance capitalism, it's more like we are some sort of non very shaped entity with preferences, gustos, and capacities. So the very transcendental success of this surveillance capitalism is that we think that we are tomando las riendas de nuestra vida, but we are not. We're being make that we are, but we are not. Anyway, that's a subject that it took around 2 semesters in my doctoral studies, which is a long time, and I'm trying to compilate and being very fast here. Let's move on. The next moment of which is our nowadays, the era of sustainability. And right now, if you want to have a successful project on industrial design, this is 4 paths that you can achieve it. Renewable energies, solar, wind, hydro, mixed between all of those. Biotechnology, which is the point here is go to biotechnology school and make some friends over there. At some point of your career, it's gonna present some return on investment. Sustainable materials. We all have to, right now I'm offering packaging design class here at the Universidad Tecnológica Equinoccial. And we are addressing this issue of sustainable materials in order to replace non-sustainable materials. For instance, we are developing films like you all know have been into HEB, right? When you go to get some meat, it comes in a styrofoam plate, and it's covered with some transparent film, right? We're trying to replace this film from plastic to some sort of material that destroys itself in 90 days. So this to achieve this, we are using shrimp skin, which is full of collagen, which is again what we have on our hair and our nails. And well, this is some sort of a way to achieve financial sponsorship if you want to develop something in this area. And the last one is ecological regeneration, which is restoring ecosystems. And when we think about ecosystems, usually we think about natural parks or natural areas or the jungle or some place like that, right? But the point is here, it's the ecological regeneration. It's to be applied on cities. That's the very big challenge here. In order to achieve this ecological regeneration, it's a bad timing, but today in the morning I found some 300 rules. What rule? Which is not actually a rule, but a recommendation from UN about on how to plan cities and urban expansion. I'm gonna share it with Professor Margarita, all this stuff I'm talking about, and I'm pretty much sure she's gonna share it with you. And the idea is that, for instance, in Monterrey, it's very hot. It's a very hot city, right? And we use a lot of air conditioning, which is, I always found it funny that air conditioned, it's called climas. I don't know, it's funny for me. It's a funny word. Anyway, this technology consumes a lot of energy and wastes a lot of energy. If you try to develop something in climate technologies, this is going to be a success. And you're going to get a lot of funding in order to achieve this. So this is right now what we are when we are living in the time of our current existence. So we have this next idea of technological trajectories. And as I hope you can realize that we are going to this, we have come from manual to digital, right? We have moved from the stone tools to very early machine development, like the printing machine. And then we moved to mechanical efficiency on the first industrial revolution with engines, steam engines and carbon engines, which at some point, and we're gonna touch that point later, but it was from these basic tools to these other tools. Tools anyway. In technology, it's always a tool. And on this, we have moved from analog to digital. And the best case study here, it's watches. Watches started on medieval times, and they move along from analog and mechanical watches to digital watches. And this is a revolution process. This is and in my doctoral degree, I studied this. I presented this, and it's very interesting that at some point, Switzerland was the main manufacturer for analog watches. And then the Chinese ones, and yes, Chinese, Japanese business, they developed digital watches. And the Asian academics, they talk about the digital revolution. And the Europeans, especially the Switzerland academics, they talk about this technological disruption as the digital crash. So the same phenomenon, it's seen from different point of views, and this relates to how how technological disruptions benefits some side in favor from one side to another, right? We also have another characteristic here on technological trajectories, that these technologies move from local to global. The best example here is how the internet expanded from some military project to a global network that we all use nowadays, even though none of us it's part of the military, right? And the last one here, it's linear to circular. This relates on how we understand as industrial designers how to deal with materials and manufacturing. Linear means that we have someone who provides a basic material, then someone manufactures, sell it, and discard it, right? And this is the linear, let's call it philosophy. Opposed to the circular one, when we tend to not have some supplier, but we have local suppliers. This an example of this is the honey. In Monterrey, you have south of Monterrey. I just forgot the name of where the town where Presa de la Boca it's located.
Villa de Santiago?
Exactly. Thank you very much. In Villa de Santiago, there's plenty of beekeepers. And this is something that it's becoming a trend because usually, not usually, traditionally, there was a lot of honeybee production in the south of Mexico. And now it's spreading across many, let's call it small manufacturing points. It's not actually a manufacturing because bees are the one manufacturing. But this also relates to how we're moving back to some sort of hunters gatherers, but on local scale. Because we, on the circular philosophy, the cost of sending honey from, for instance, Monterrey to, let's say, Montreal, has some carbon footprint, which is not something that we want now. And well, the circular philosophy proposes that we reduce to zero our waste, basically. Being very unfair and very fast, this is what the circular philosophy proposes. This takes us to what we know as the Anthropocene. And I'm pretty much sure you have heard about the Anthropocene, right?
Yes.
Yes, of course. And what is the Anthropocene? It's the moment of our existence when we realized that the geological register of our planet, it started to have a layer of which shows our presence in the world. So this layer in the geological register, it's characterized by radioactive waste, a lot of plastics, a lot of carbon emissions, a lot of burning evidence. And this is the one, this is how geologists started to realize that there was this evidence on the register. And the Anthropocene is characterized by an accelerated climate change, a massive loss of biodiversity, these alterations on the biogeochemical cycles. And here I want to share with you something that when I was at my doctoral degree, we had an Anthropocene group, and we have exchanged with an Australian research institute, and they show us that they have created 12 pools, like some sort of jacuzzis. And they were experimenting on what happens when the temperature of the seawater rises. And they have these 12, let's call pools. And turns out that if the water heats up, tends to become some sort of gel, and it's very nasty. And they have these 12 pools where they have experimented with different variances of all the variables of salinity, of temperature, of algae creation, algae expansion. And if we achieve this 5 Celsius degree mark, up to add to our current temperature, sea will become some sort of jelly. And this represents a very huge problem because it's the base of the biological chain in our world. We have already raised up our sea temperature 3 degrees, and we have only 2 degrees left in order to this happen. So this is very, very concerning. And the thing with the Anthropocene is that it's very much like a tsunami. We don't realize about the consequence until it's very late to take some action. So this is why it's very important that us as designers who shape up the world, we shape up the products, we shape up objects, we shape up clothes, we shape up everything you are around, surrounded by. It was shaped by a designer. It was thought by a designer, and that's our main responsibility right now. And oops. So this creates a very dangerous, let's move back here to the Anthropocene. This creates a very concerning scenario, right? Because as a designers, we have to take some posture and propose some answer to these scenarios. And the best thing that we have now, it's this concept of regenerative design. It's and it has a little bit more of categories, but I think that the most important ones are these 4 that we can see here in this these slides. And let's begin with biomimicry, which is the imitation of nature strategies. That's what we can understand of about Velcro. It was taken from nature's idea, and I urge you to research about biomimicry, and you're gonna find a lot of interesting examples. For instance, there was a backpack which was shaped up after the pangolin scales principle. And this is something that it's very interesting because the solutions are out there in nature. And we as designers have to watch carefully. Think here like how Leonardo was watching the world. He was not in the very common watch of the world, right? He was paying attention to some details, to some sort of um, particular things in life. So this is something that we have to acquire to our behavior as and our methods as designers. The second point here is circular economy. Products have to be designed in order to be reused. One great example is how BMW is designing their chassis of each car in order to be used in the next generation for that particular car. So what they are doing is they put the, let's call it the skeleton of the car, and then they put the pieces, that shape up the car. This is something that it's being reproduced by Toyota, Nissan, and many other car brands. And it's something that we have to consider right now. The third one, it's design for disassembly. Disassembly. This is something that Apple don't go that way. They do things in order to have some life cycle that presumes that you have to buy a new one. And here I also urge you to search for the repair movement, your right to repair movement. This presents all the philosophy behind this, how we should be considering and how we should be projecting our products in order to be a part of this regenerative design. And the last one is regenerative materials, which the most stereotypical example I would say it's the self-repairing concrete that you can see plenty of these things in YouTube. I also urge you to watch it because what would let's fly a little bit here. What would be if we can create a material that grows up following some patterns, just like we follow, but for instance, to create a chair? Let's say that we offer some sort of, all of you have seen how a plant grows, right? It starts with like this and goes expanding, and one tree arm goes this way, other that way. What if we direct them? What if we grow up a chair? What if we create some sort of mycelium? Some sort of, let's call it a friendly champignon that grows up, and we offer it some sort of structures to grow up as a chair. This is what regenerative materials is about. Materials and products that are that after their projected use are gonna have a very tiny or zero impact on their way back to the environment. And here applies that quote from physics, que nada se destruye, todo se transforma. And this is the way that we should think on regenerative materials, que todo se transforme. Well, the next one, it's I'm closing my I want to call it a little chat here with you. Throughout this presentation, we have explored how the evolution of technology have been affecting us as a society, and how we have been offering some, let's call it feedback to technology. And this interaction have shaped up our environment, have changed the way that we live. We are not hunter-gatherers anymore. We are not living in early cities concept. We live in cities which are a very complex system, which has fluxes of people going that way. Think of this here, people going from San Pedro to Santa Catarina and um, oh, what's the, I forgot the name.
Nicolás, Guadalupe.
Guadalupe, and the other side where the airport is located.
Apodaca.
Apodaca, exactly. So people are moving from those places, and we don't have a very good transportation system. Why is that? It's technology that it's mean to us, or there is some sort of economical interest behind that. So the point here is that we should be questioning how we interact with technology, not take it for granted, and think on crazy ways that because this is our privilege as designers. Engineers usually don't have that privilege. Engineers are very much focused on the on the final product. We as designers have the privilege to think how this journey is gonna be. What's the path we're gonna explore. And for us, it's important the final product, but also the experiences product. What experiences take us to that final product? And well, that's it. I would like to thank Professor Margarita for her openness inviting me, and I've realized that my English is getting a little bit rusted here since we don't have English classes, but I'm very happy to share with you today. And thank you very much. If you need something or want to share some ideas or want to have some feedback on any project, you can write me to my email. I'm gonna put it in the chat.
No, we thank you very much, David, for joining us and for sharing all this information, a part of your experience of many, many years of working in design. And well, if you are going to share us a part of this material, I would like you to include your email, because I'm sure that somebody would like to contact you in order to ask some questions or whatever. But anyway, if you have like 5 to 10 minutes, I would like to ask the people the class to ask something if you want. You know,
Sure.
designers, as you know, I'm a biochemical engineer, so now it's an opportunity for you to get clear about certain doubts you may have in the environment of industrial design. So please take this
Certainly.
opportunity.
So, who has any questions or want to comment something or want to question? Maybe I'm not agree with what you said, Professor, and so on.
Or disagree if you want, but
Exactly.
say
You don't have
something.
to. You don't have to believe me. This is not a faith. This is science.
I have a question. I would like to know your opinion on the use of AI as a tool, especially in the creative process of design.
Well, thank you for your question. I think AI it's part of an technological revolution, and something that history has taught us is that in every industrial revolution that we have gone through, we are the ones losing. Always technology has taken some space, some human space, and this sounds very negative, but it's not. It's something that to be conscious about and to be able to understand how artificial intelligence functions and how we can use it. Because something that I had a class on semiotics over there in Tech, and I had this student from I think he was from biotechnology or I2D, and he was very clumsy on expression and visual expression. And someday he showed up with a logo that with a brand that was not suiting his abilities. And I asked him, "How did you do it?" He told me, "Oh, I use artificial intelligence." And then he started to talk about the very technical details, which I had no idea what he was talking about. But the point is that he was using this technology tool, it's the same, in order to create some sort of final product, which was beyond his human abilities. But the technology offered the possibility of being competitive in this particular task. So let's say you want to design some, let's talk about food design. Most of you are not particularly interested in food design, probably, but it's one field that has many potential for industrial designers, since food have to be shaped up in order to match the way we eat. Because if you have paid attention again to the market, you could realize that when a cookie is launched to the market, it has, for instance, this size, and then it moves to things like smaller shapes, and this is due to the user-centered approach. So again, I questioned the user-centered approach before, but I acknowledge that it's one of the very useful methodologies in order to develop some sort of product. But we have to be conscious about what methodology generates what kind of results. So to come back to the idea of AI usage, I support the AI usage because it makes things faster. When I was doing my PhD, I was studying 600 kind of watches that the German town where I was located produces. They manufacture handmade watches. And at some point, I started to analyze pictures of these 600 watches. And I realized that it took me like one morning to have not even 10% of the first image. And then I questioned myself, how long is going to take me to make all these measurements in order to be able to process some data? And turns out it was going to take me 25 years to perform only the capture of information. So I had no possibility to invest 26 years of my life in order to do that. So what was the answer? I got a machine learning course, and took what, maybe 16, 17 minutes to the computer to analyze all these 600 images, and the result was some graphics that took me 1 month to understand. I had no idea why it was giving me these answers. And then a month after, I realized that what was the meaning. But the point was that AI and machine learning helped me to make things faster. And I was gonna get there eventually, but according to my calculations, it would be 26 years later. So I think AI, it has to be included in our creative processes. We have to understand how does it work, what are the limitations, what are the advantages, what are the ethical usage of that. This is very important because you can just like I don't know if you have probably none of you have kids, but when I became a father, I realized how my son was learning everything that I showed him. If I showed him things that would be ethically wrong, that we consider ethically wrong, let's call shooting another person, he would have learned that as a normal behavior. This same process happens with AI's entities. You have to teach them what you want to perform, what's the task you want to perform, and you have to teach them to do it in an ethical way. Because let's go to the extreme, and we teach some AI that hitting women, it's okay, which clearly is not, right? So if we teach an AI entity that hitting women, it's okay, the answers we're gonna get are gonna be sesgadas. I don't remember the word in English, but it means that we're gonna have a distorted from reality answers. So it's very polemic because these days we all have been using any the AI entity you prefer to create Ghibli styles illustrations, right? You take a selfie and ask any of the ChatGPT or Copilot to create an illustration on Ghibli style, and then you have it. And wait, let me share with you something that I found, and it was disturbing to say the least. Where is it? Here, this one. I'm gonna put it here on my camera. Can you see this guy? And
Can you stop sharing your screen so we can see the picture? Because we are seeing your
yeah.
sharing.
Give me just a second to get hold on a second, please. ¿Dónde está? Still sharing my screen. Okay. Facebook. Este de aquí. And let's go down there. This one. You can see it, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, you can see this guy here with his girlfriend, and they wrote asnos estilo Ghibli, which is a orthographic mistake, right? And what was the answer? The artificial entity rendered them as here, as asnos, literalmente, como asnos. Y pues la aplicación cumplió lo que se le pidió, porque aquí dice asnos estilo Ghibli. Asnos del animal, no de el hacernos, que aquí le hubiera puesto una H. ¿Se dan cuenta?
H y Z.
Exactamente. De poner el asnos de hacer, que es ortográficamente diferente del asnos del animal. Entonces, pues esta es una de las cosas que creo que tenemos que tener en consideración cuando usamos entidades de inteligencia artificial. Eso, esta sería mi respuesta. Any other questions?
Pues muchísimas gracias, David. No sé si haya alguna otra pregunta, pero es tiempo de, it's time for lunch for the team, and so for the class. So we appreciated a lot your ideas that you share with us, and I'm going to share the presentation with them, and of course your email and all these references that you gave us of different books and things that they can review in order to improve their practice in design. And well, if there is nothing else to say, somebody?
Anyone? Shoot it now.
This is your opportunity. Okay,
Well,
thank you very much, David. And Joel, please go ahead.
Hi, well, something really fast. It's not related about the class, it's more like a personal question on a topic that I am interested in. What's your opinion about, well, on electric cars and automotive ones like Teslas that drive itself? What do you think about that?
well, on electric cars, particularly on Tesla, I think we have to acknowledge that Tesla revolutioned the automotive market. Since previously to Tesla appearance, there was the idea that no one wanted electric cars. And one big achievement of Tesla is that people like and want electric cars. On the other hand, electric cars are equally or more dangerous to environment, since directly they don't generate a carbon footprint, but on the manufacturing process, there's a huge oops. Okay. Therefore, electric cars are not the best options nowadays. I would say our best option on technological transportation, it's Toyota's proposal on hybrid systems from internal combustion engines and electrical power. This, I think, this is the best way for this technological path on transportation and automobiles.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to stop the recording.